Okay, this is Dad. It's April 25th, 2014. This is Marvin Kiyoshi Yoshikawa. So I was starting out by asking if you just want to give some words. This is partly for Maxim. So for Maxim in like 20 years, so Maxim would be like 22 going on 23. What would you say to him in 20 years? That's a long time.
That's a good question, but it'd be a miracle if I lived that long.
So what would you like to record for him?
Well, Maxim, I just want to see you grow up and enjoy yourself and have a good life with your mom and dad. I'm a little hoarse for some reason.
Can we get you some water?
No, that's okay. It's hard to.
What advice do you have?
For Maxim?
Like, what should he do, or
Well, I
to
think
be happy?
you should try to get a good education, try to go to college, and try to find a job that you like and pursue it. Of course, we don't know what your interest is by then. But hopefully it's in the engineering section, which is probably the best one. Either. By then, I guess the computers would be really highlighted, so. We shall
Something
see.
else in 20 years. I wonder what it's going to look like.
High speed.
Let's see. And yeah. So you were born in Marysville, California, back in 1928.
12/26/28.
Day after Christmas.
Yep, yeah.
And your mom and dad came from, they were also born in California, or they came from Hawaii?
They were born in Japan.
And they came over in 1903 or something?
They had to come over right past, see, Dad was born in 1888, so they came over when they were really young.
And it was Mayo,
Yeah.
and your dad was
Minoru.
Minoru. And she was a picture bride? Is that
Yeah.
right?
In those days, when they came from Japan to California, then there wasn't too much romance in the marriage, but that was it was easier that way, to have a picture bride.
So how did that work?
Well, I guess they have people who try to put two people together and then match them up.
And so your dad got to choose from a bunch of pictures, or the matchmaker?
Yeah, I don't think he picked. I think his was already chosen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, when were they married when they came over, or they came over,
No, they came and
got married
got
here?
married.
And
I don't know where they got married. I don't know. I don't know. They were
So and then they didn't they have to? Did they stop over in Hawaii first?
Yeah.
Because
In
there was
Japan.
I think some sort of immigration limits.
Yeah, I think during that time, a little after that, they called it the Yellow Peril, because there was so many Orientals coming over. Of course, when they built the railroad, they hired a lot of Chinese immigrants to work on the railroad.
And they moved to Marysville. And what about their mom and dad? Did they also come over, or they stayed in Japan?
They came over one time, and they decided to go back to Japan.
I see.
Yeah.
And then you were going to, like, which schools? Well, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Francis, Lillian, Paul, and Gordon, and myself.
And it's from oldest to youngest. It's what, Francis, Lillian,
Yeah, I think it's Francis, Lillian.
Paul?
Yeah, I don't know who's older, but it's Paul. And,
And then you
yeah.
and Gordon?
Gordon, yeah.
Okay. And which elementary school did you go to? Do you remember?
Let's see, when I was in California, we went to Yuba City Grammar School. And when the war broke out,
So you were still in grammar school when the war broke out.
yeah,
So you would have been
I was 13.
13.
Yeah.
So you were almost ready for high school. The next year you would have been in
Yeah.
high school. So and Frances was already,
She was already working.
so she graduated high school and she
In fact, she went to college.
went to Berkeley. She went to, what was the name of that? We drove by it. Maybe
I thought
it was
she
a
went
business
to,
school.
Yeah, I thought she went to Davis.
She went to a business school. I think it's located in near downtown Berkeley.
Or was it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we drove past it. And then what about Lillian?
I don't know too much about Lillian. I think she was already working too.
But they were both still in Marysville?
Yeah.
And Gordon was how old was Gordon?
You will see. Since I was 13, he was about 7 years younger, so he must have been about 6.
And then the war broke out.
Then we got all sent to Tule Lake, California.
Can we get you some water?
No, I don't know why my throat's like that.
Hold on a second. Let me. Okay. Let me just grab you water.
I don't know why my throat's gravelly.
So, do you remember when, like what you were feeling, what happened when the war broke out? Did you know anything was going to happen?
No, not really. When you're 13, you're not really concerned what's going on in the world.
So you,
I didn't anyway.
and then there was I guess a proclamation, right?
Yeah.
There was-
But when we went to Thule, to me it was like a summer camp.
So how did you guys get there? So you had to sell your house.
Well, I don't remember if we owned a house or not, but
What were your parents doing there?
my father was working in a grocery store,
Okay.
and my mom we had a rooming house, and I don't know how many rooms we had, but they charged something like 50 cents
To
to
stay.
$1. Yeah,
So she was like renting out the rooms.
yeah.
Do you know why they chose Marysville?
It's hard to say. Let's see, I think the Llanos were there and the Muratas were there. So I guess they all came to Marysville somehow.
Huh. I wonder if they knew some of the other families.
I don't know. Sometime you have to ask Fran, because she was the older one.
And so you were just 13 years old, and then you just remember being put on a train to go somewhere?
Yeah, we got on a train and went to Tule Lake, which was right on the border of California and Oregon. So,
Oh, so it was up north from where you guys
yeah,
were.
it was right on the border. Then from there, after,
Was it technically California or it's Oregon?
yeah, no, it was California.
Wow. What were they? But it must have been inland, I guess.
Well, they picked a spot where it was nothing but desert. It was not too good a place. But
And then when you guys, do you remember anything about the train ride or when you got there?
no, not really.
And then when you got there, do you remember too much about camp? You guys played baseball, right?
Yeah, well, softball mainly. Yeah, it was. Yeah, when you're that young, I guess we just like play sports.
What was the food like?
Well, I think when they first started, the Army was serving the food, and then after about a year or so, they installed Japanese food. So that was pretty nice.
So when you were growing up, before camp, what would your mom make? Was it all Japanese food?
Yeah, all Japanese food, yeah.
And then your mom and dad didn't speak English, right?
They spoke a little bit. My dad spoke English pretty well because he worked in a
In the
grocery store.
So then you guys were speaking Japanese at home.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, but not too much.
And then in grammar school, it was a Japanese school or American school?
We had a Japanese school that we went on Saturday, every Saturday.
And you practiced Japanese?
Yeah, we learned Japanese there.
And then so you're in camp and you're playing baseball, and how many years were you there?
We're in Thule 2 years.
So it was 44, 45?
I think it was 43, 44. 43, 44. Because we relocated to Cincinnati in 45
So after Thule, where did you go to?
to
You went straight from there to
no,
Cincinnati? You went to
Utah.
Utah.
Yeah, Topaz.
Topaz. And why did you guys move from one camp to the other?
Well, I think they designated Thule as a, well, undesirable Japanese,
So they rounded up all the undesirables.
and they left them in Thule, and we
So then you had to get out of Thule.
yeah, we went to Topaz,
Those were
Utah.
the no-nos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and then how was? Do you remember how different was Topaz from Thule?
It was the same thing, really.
Desert,
Yeah, desert.
man. So at this point, you're 15 years old.
Yeah.
What was daily life like? Do you remember?
Well, when you're that young, it really doesn't matter. I mean, all you do is play because, well, besides going to school. And, we just kept busy.
So then, somehow Anne Francis got to leave, like on a work release or something, right?
Fran and
Lillian.
Yeah.
And they ended up in Cincinnati at the
Yeah.
Y, right? I think Fran was at the Y.
No, Lillian was at the Y.
Lillian was at the Y.
I don't know where Fran was.
So, and that was from Topaz,
Yeah.
and that was in 45.
Yeah, because I came to Cincinnati in September of 45, because I started high school there at Norwood High School. And from 45 to 46, graduated from Norwood then.
In 46.
Yeah,
So you went 2 years
yeah.
because you had already gotten most 2 of your high school years in
Camp.
And you ran track at Norwood.
Yeah.
So how was that? So who else went to Norwood? Because Gordon went to Withrow,
Yeah.
so he was not old enough yet.
No.
And where were your mom and dad living at when you were going to Norwood?
I think they were in Norwood.
They must have been in Norwood.
Yeah, they must have been in Norwood.
So you were the only Japanese at Norwood, probably.
Yeah.
So what did all the kids think about that?
Oh, they didn't say too much.
It must have been a little tough right after the war, I guess.
No, not really. I think in our school we only had one black family.
And then you guys,
Yeah,
and then everyone
us.
else was white.
Yeah.
It's different than Norwood today.
Yeah, I don't know what how Norwood is now.
So you ran, what else did you run? You lettered in track, and what else did you run?
And football,
In football, what did you play football?
not too well.
What position did you play?
I played halfback.
Halfback. They really don't play halfback anymore, do they?
No,
There's no halfback position.
No.
Tight ends and
running backs.
running backs. And on track, you ran hurdles,
No, 100-yard dash,
100-yard dash,
broad jump, and high jump.
and what about long jump?
Yeah, broad jump is the same.
Oh, they call it.
Broad jump, yeah.
Oh, okay. And what do you? I think you jumped like 23,
Yeah, I was
23, 24,
now about 23 and a half.
23 and a half. And what about high jump?
5'8".
That's pretty good. And that was before the Fosbury flop.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was going over frontwards.
Might have added a couple more inches by doing the Fosbury.
And then in the 100-yard dash, do you remember how fast?
I wasn't that fast.
10, 11?
10 something.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, closer to 11.
And so out of high school, I guess, um, did Lillian, I guess no one had gone to college yet.
Well, I think Fran and Lillian went to
Like a business school.
Yeah, business school or junior college.
And you, so how did you decide to go into the Marines and get on the GI Bill?
Well, I didn't have the GI Bill yet. I think a friend of mine in high school wanted to go in the Marines, so we went in together.
What did your mom and dad think about that? Did you have to ask him first?
Yeah, because I'm only 17, so they had to sign a paper.
So you enlisted in your senior year of high school,
Yeah.
before the first half, I guess, before Christmas.
Yeah, and guess I graduated in June and went right into the Marines.
And you, did they have any reservations about that?
No, the recruiter was sort of hesitant to enlist me because he thought there'd be a lot of hatred, but I didn't see any or feel any.
You were, I think you were one of the first, right?
Yeah,
We have a
so.
newspaper article I'll add to the tape that shows you were one of the first Japanese to join after the war. So this was in 46.
Yeah.
And the war ended in 45.
Yeah.
And so you must have gone to Parris Island?
Right, Parris Island.
Off of South Carolina?
South Carolina.
How was basic training?
Okay, when you're 17 and a half, it doesn't...
Oh, so you were still 17?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were up a year. You were a year younger than most of the kids.
Well, yeah.
Because I graduated when I was 17, but I graduated when I was 18, but I was born in September. So, basic is what, 6 weeks long?
I think it was longer than that then. It was probably like 12 weeks. Could have been 12 weeks.
And from there, where did you end up?
From there, we went to, they flew us to Panama, the canal zone.
And your job was, this was when the canal was still owned by the U.S.
Yeah,
And your job was to guard the canal.
right. They had ammunition dumps all around the canal zone. That was one of our main duty, but my duty was main gate sentry.
So just keep people out of the...
Naval base.
Oh, you were guarding the naval base.
Yeah, while we see who's coming and going.
Oh, check IDs.
Yeah.
And at some point you crossed, when did you cross the equator for the first time?
That was, they asked us, whoever wanted to go down the equator, and I volunteered. I think they took like 5-day leave, and we went down to the equator.
And you said that they hazed you.
Yeah.
So your initiation, they beat you guys up.
Yeah, from, I forgot what the term was. Oh, I think it was Polaroid to a shellback.
And these were all Navy guys?
Yeah, guys on the Navy. I think the name of the ship was USS Orion, which was I think a minesweeper.
So what's the relationship between the Navy and the Marines, like back then?
Well, back then, I guess the Navy sort of took care of the Marines. So we were always, so we were like the Navy was our parent, I guess, for the Marines. But
Were
now-
the Marines almost a subdivision of the Navy when they started
Yeah.
out? But now they're more of an equal.
Yeah, yeah. But,
And that was your first time on was it aircraft carrier?
no, it was Minesweeper.
Oh, it was just a mines. Okay.
Yeah, it looked big to me, but
But it was a small boat.
yeah, it was a small boat.
I'll have to look that up, see if I can find pictures of it.
Yeah.
And then, so you were stationed in Panama for how long?
Till January of 46. It was January of 46.
So just six months?
No, year and a half.
Year and 6 months.
Yeah.
And how many people, how many of your buddies were down there?
What do you mean?
Well, how many, was there a whole platoon of Marines? Or
Yeah, the naval base. We had the Marines had a whole company which consisted of 3 squads, and they were all infantry. And they had another squad of mechanics, car mechanics.
And once you were done with Panama, were you then, you were discharged after that? That was it?
Yeah.
So then how did the GI Bill come about? How
The
did
what?
The GI Bill.
Oh, that was, well, after you'd gone through the military, then you got the GI Bill.
To pay for all of college? Or
Yeah, just about then.
just about?
Yeah, I think I think the GI Bill paid for 3 years, and then I paid the last year.
And how did you, so you went to Miami University up in Oxford,
Yeah.
and your family was down here in Madison Road.
Yeah.
And how did you choose Miami?
That's another good question.
Because you could have gone to UC, or you
Yeah.
could have gone to Ohio State, or
I think it
Dayton.
was just like, I guess somebody asked me where I was going. I said, I don't know. So he suggested Miami.
That's a pretty good school.
Yeah.
And a nice campus.
Right.
And so when you got there, then you, who took you up there?
I don't know.
So when you got up there, you were living in the dorm rooms.
Right.
And you joined the track team up there?
Yeah. I was on the track team, I think, 2 years.
And that was Division I at the time?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. Do you remember any track meets you went to?
Yeah, I went to like Pittsburgh. I went up in Ypsilanti, Michigan. There's quite a few places that we participated.
What conference was Miami in? Was the MAC around back then?
I think it was called the Mid-America.
So it was the MAC, even way back then.
Yeah.
They change so often these days.
Yeah, I know.
I guess, yeah. So, and then you were in, I forgot what your major was.
Sociology.
Sociology. And How did you choose sociology?
I guess it was a sort of generic,
Generic, like education,
yeah, well, liberal arts.
liberal arts.
Yeah.
And do you, so then from Miami, then you graduated, and then where did you move to after that?
Well, let's see.
I remember you lived in Chicago
Yeah, that
for a
was
little bit,
for a year. I lived in Chicago.
but straight out of school,
Um, gosh, it's hard to remember all that. But anyway, when I was in Chicago, I worked for a department store called Carson, Peary and Scott, which was next to Marshall, not next to, but as big as Marshall Fields at that time.
and it was close to Wrigley Field, right? The ball
Yeah,
field.
yeah, it was on the north side,
And where were you living at? You were living in an apartment?
yeah.
Did you go to a lot of Cubs games?
No, not really. I think I went to a few of them, but not too many.
And let's see, so I remember when I was talking to Mom, she said you guys met around 60, let's see, 66, 65.
Somewhere around there.
So you were in camp at 45, got out 46, I think 47 you were in the Marines, and then 4 years later you would have been 51. So
Well, let's see, I went to college 48 to 52.
52.
Yeah.
So from 52 to 65 when you met Mom, where were you living? So you lived in Chicago for a year.
Yeah, I lived, after that, came down back to Cincinnati. I had a lot of different jobs. I don't remember
A lot of just odd jobs, or
yeah, they weren't too permanent.
mostly in retail.
I would think so, yeah.
And at what point did you decide to work for the post office? When did you start that?
Well, I guess I took their exam and
The
passed it, so
Civil service?
Yeah.
And that was before or after you got married?
that was 40, 52. Got married. Now, I can't remember what year we were born. I got married.
Yes, Nicole was born in 69.
Yeah.
You were married in 68.
68, yeah.
And you met her, I think, in 66 or 65.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. And so you were working down at East End the whole time, or you started
No,
somewhere else?
When I started at the post office, they had a place called, well, anyway, when you first started, that's where you got your experience.
At the Annex or something?
Yeah, annex, that's it.
And when you met Mom, do you remember the first time you met Mom?
I think it was on a New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was in Newport.
Yeah.
She said there was she said she was working in Covington, or living in Covington.
Yeah, she was working
She was working.
chili, well, yeah. I guess that was part-time, really.
And No, she said there was a bar with a band.
Yeah,
And she would go there sometimes. And
Yeah.
you
that's where
must
I
have-
met her.
bartended on weekends or something.
Yeah, it's called the 500 Club.
The 500 Club over in Newport.
Yeah.
Is it still around?
No, I went by there a couple of years ago. It's gone.
And she said that when she met you, she was with another date, just a friend, and she was flirting with you a little bit at the bar. And she was trying to figure out how she could get her date to leave for a little while so she could talk to you. But she said she ended up giving you her phone number on a piece of paper. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
She said you guys kissed after midnight. Like she had missed the midnight
Years.
kiss.
Yeah. Could have been,
And after that, you guys started dating, I guess.
yeah.
And you ended up getting married and living over at the Strathmore Apartments
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then you had a insurance endowment, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And you could use that to put a down payment on a house.
Yeah, we were thinking about buying a car. But we decided
To buy a house.
better to put a down payment on a house.
Otherwise, we would be living in a car.
Yeah.
We'd be taping this from the car.
We're still living in an apartment.
And I think right. So Nicole was born 69.
Yeah.
That must have been at the apartment.
Yeah.
You guys moved here in 71. I was born the next